basically this guy invited me to the first event of a new thing, which were men's circles. And so I was really happy to be part of this the first edition, let's say, of that very privileged event. And this happened to be hosted at your farm, which I'd never heard about before. And I've never had really any specific interest into the farmland, let's say, or agriculture itself before. But as soon as I put my feet at the Valhalla Farm and I saw you, I saw like the people who were actually, hosting the event, and also just the community behind it, like that was supporting the whole farm. And I could feel something that was very triggering to me. So I was like, hey, so what is it? Like, what triggers me here? And I guess it was both, connection with men. Although Valhalla is not only men, but like at this specific event, it was connection with nature. And also just a place to be yourself and to be able to speak and to, feel like it's a non-judgmental place. And I kind of feel like, so I went through this first men's circle, not having a clear vision of where it would lead me or how I would act on this thing that had just opened in front of me, right? But then I left Quebec for about 6 months. And even before that, I had this vision where I was like, well, I kind of feel like we need space for men to gather, so I started building this like board, which I called it was a Brotherhood sanctuary at this stage. I never showed you that first document.
You never showed me that.
But I had like a few slides of like what I had in my mind, and then, but I think it just stayed on the shelf, went on this 6-month travel, and I can clearly remember that when I was traveling, I was in Mexico and Latin America, and I was thinking about the farm and you many times, and I was like, I need to be part of this. I want to be part of this. I don't want to be just some participant that just goes there once in a while and participate and then go back. I kind of feel like I want a higher level of implication. But I did and I was like, patience is a virtue. Be patient. Have some more clarity around how you can help or what you want to do, where you want to go with your life, and then it might happen. And then when I came back, it was pretty much a year ago. It was the beginning of June. I remember. And this is when you knocked on my door and say, hell, well, I think we are at a stage now where we need to have a clearer vision and to really start mapping things out at the farm. Because you are a guy, so you have this farm, you have your agency, you have those class online, you have this academy you had. And it's very impressive when we don't know you, when we get to the farm and you talk about, and you do storytelling. And then when you talk about your story, it's very impressive for most people who are not entrepreneurs, very active like you are, right? And so I was a bit, I guess, intimidated by what you were incarnating, let's say. Can I say that? Yeah. And so I was like, I don't want to be this needy guy who comes to this guy saying, you have something I don't have. I don't know what that is, but I want to find out through you. So I kind of waited until things will align naturally, let's say, at some point.
Sure.
And so you reach out. So we were in contact a little bit. I was following Valhalla movement and with everything at a farm from a distance. And when I came back, we reunited, let's say. And for the first time, we were like, okay, how can we work together? This is how it all started.
Yeah.
And we're here today, like a year later, with a lot of work done.
Definitely.
A lot of learnings.
Definitely.
And still a lot of gray zones.
A lot more to do. Absolutely.
Right. So that's a bit of the backstory here.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I thank you for sharing the story and actually the true emotions behind it. I mean, around, obviously showing up at the farm. The first event, ironically, was at that event, we were physically, we gathered some of the guys and we're like, look, guys, we have a bunch of post and beams that we have to put up, and they're really freaking heavy, and we really could use some help. And we lined it up so that you guys could all kind of support us in that thing. And I remember seeing you and your energy and just and understanding you were an architect, but also understanding you had to spend a little bit of time working with Solution Era, which focuses on ecological design. You had kind of gone down that rabbit hole. And you were almost like, a dissociated architect from let's say the way that architecture is happening today. And so I just kind of like, I felt immediately, I was like, okay, I know I'm going to work with this guy. Like, I know that this guy is going to help me. Cause the truth is, as maybe, impressive my career might be over what is now the beginning of my 17th year as an entrepreneur, I'm not as organized as you. I'm not as meticulous as you. I'm not as, I'm more I'm more the type of person who takes risk, let's say, and I'm willing to kind of push the edges. And I've always, in my entire life, I've always had somebody who's a little bit more like centered, a little bit more organized, and a little bit more like, well, wait a second, Mark, this is the process. Like, this is the right way to do it. Let's go about it properly. Let's map, let's plan, let's, do the legal together. And that for me came from my father, right? He was a lawyer, tax lawyer, and entertainment lawyer, and a bunch of stuff. So he's always kind of been that pillar in my life. But realistically, Valhalla was and is growing, but at that time was growing immensely. And it was starting to get to the point where it's like, okay, there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot more money going into this, both out of my pocket, but also just from the community. We're clearly going to the point of building a farm venue, a place not only where we're growing, but we have infrastructure to grow, but also infrastructure to host, infrastructure where people can come and participate in agritourism. There was a lot of people asking us for tours, a lot of people asking different questions. And so it was starting to kind of like mushroom. And now we were getting to the point where like my lack of planning and my lack of having like a master plan when you consider building a farm, if you were doing a traditional real estate project, if you're building infrastructure, like you want to have a master plan. And I had none of that. I had a vision,
Right.
to some degree. I had some clarity around certain things. But honestly, I don't think that I get nearly as far as we are today without you.